The dark psychology behind landing your dream job. Let's face it, we don't get that dream job by just being nice, but we land that dream job by knowing who we are in that job's world. And I'm going to explain to you in depth today what this means. So, if you are looking to land your dream job in 90 days or much less, then lock in. Let's get started. The interesting question about manifestation and making it practical for this video is really understanding who you are in that job's world. Who are you in that company's team? So therefore, you have to ask yourself, are you the person that they're going to look over and get AI to filter out your resume? Or are you the person that they have to, in a way, design the job description to match you because they want to hire you? And I've seen videos where people literally have their job descriptions designed around them because the person just wants to hire them. So therefore, before you even go into the interview or send out your resume, you have to come back and work on the inner energetics of who you are. And this is really important because it's really not about the STAR method and getting a careers coach to fix your resume and attend all these workshops. And some people pay 10 grand to get help with writing their resume and then, having it passed to a company. I mean, that's just BS. We're not going to do that. We're going to do things in a way where we really get what we want out of that job. So therefore, you have to know that the whole point of people getting into scripting, affirmations, job preparations, hiring career coaches, working on themselves, working on their mindset, researching companies, all that kind of stuff, it's for one purpose. Can you guess what that is? It's to get a yes from life. But how do we get a yes from life if we constantly reject ourselves? So the question that I have for you is, in the process of you trying to pursue the career that you truly want the way that I used to go about it the wrong way, do you ever reject yourself in the process? Do you disqualify yourself before they even disqualify you? Because the thing is, the world within reflects without. As within, so without. If you don't have the job within, I guarantee you that no matter how many times you role play and get a careers coach, like fix your resume and stuff like that, and give you career advice, it's just not going to land. So you need to know how to get a yes from life by first saying yes to yourself within. And by doing this, I'm going to be showing you the trajectory of two people. The first one who goes about things in a very logical way that I used to. And the second one who combines some spirituality, yes, but you make it land in the physical world and you actually get what you want after you get that job too. So here's a trajectory. We have the old version of me who used to go about getting a job in a way that's, sometimes I'm very optimistic and inspired, and I would read a bunch of Jim Rohns and do a bunch of inner conviction, and therefore it inspired me to get the job. And I'll tell you that there was a time where this chairman of a recruitment company, like a billionaire, retired chairman, I had the opportunity to go to Melbourne. I was so lucky. Thank you for bringing me there. And I was able to meet him, and he asked me, what is the purpose of this conversation? At the time, I was pursuing this thing called Impact You. It was pretty much just one-on-one coaching, but I was really serious about it. And I didn't want to just do one-on-one coaching. I wanted to host Careers Accelerator events and grow my brand and do all these positive things to help people get jobs. So I didn't go there to really ask for a job in his recruitment company. I think I went there just to have a conversation, just build relationship. And at the time I was writing books. So I wrote my first book, which was about like 100 A4 pages. It was really in depth about, resume, LinkedIn, interview preparation, that kind of stuff. And I sent it to him after and stuff. But basically within that 20 minutes conversation, I answered the question in a way that makes the conversation feel in harmony. So he never asked me what's your strength or weakness. He was just like, what's the purpose of you coming here? How can I, help you kind of thing. So it was a very casual conversation. But because at the time I wasn't there to land a job at his recruitment firm, I wasn't there to convince him to give me anything. Within 20 minutes of just me reading the room properly and just trying to talk to him like an actual human being who just, wants some compassion, wants to be heard, wants to be seen, but most of all, just wants somebody to be present with them. I was quite humble because he's a billionaire chairman. I didn't need to flex to him. I was quite humble in my approach, and I just answered like, a granddaughter talking to grandpa kind of situation. So therefore, within 20 minutes, he asked me, well, I can't really invest in your company or your business, but what I can do is give you a job at my company. So within 20 minutes, I got the job. But I didn't accept the job because, I wanted to do interview coaching at the time. But this just goes to show that job interview is not about STAR methods only. It's much more than that, much deeper than that. So basically, because my old self in my 20s wasn't very stable emotionally, I was very emotionally dependent on my 3D reality. I had a lot of impatience and I took a lot of impulsive action. So my trajectory in terms of, getting a job 9 to 5, it was not very stable at the time. So sometimes I would get really motivated and I would win, literally. Sometimes it's out of luck, but it's also to do with right preparation. And Neville Goddard says that, success is the byproduct of the right inner action and not imitating the outer actions of the successful. So when you're overdoing it, like, overdoing the introduction and giving a 2-minute introduction about yourself and just trying too hard, that's you imitating the outer action of somebody who did that and it works for them. But basically, you have to get the inner action correct before you do anything in the outer reality. So I somehow got my inner actions correct, and I did a lot of preparation in terms of I practiced my sales speech for this corporate sales job 20 times before I presented the next day. So I wrote it in the evening around 6, 7 p.m. Then I just kept rehearsing it to myself over and over for 3 hours, 20 times. It was a 3-minute speech about why they should hire me for corporate sales. And I had zero experience in corporate sales. And after that, I got a pass and they sent me to a bunch of interviews and I got the job. So, but what happens is that because my inner identity is fragile, I had a fragile mindset, I allowed the 3D reality to constantly sway me, bring me to the high highs and the low lows. I would get swung back down. So even after I get the job, something would screw me up mentally. I wouldn't get the right pay, the right treatment, the right conditions I wanted. So that's why the whole point of this dark psychology in this video is not just to get the job and put it on a pedestal, but it's to make sure you receive the right treatments, you can ask for the right pay, and you can negotiate for something that is in alignment with what you want long term. So then I would dip, and then I would then have this feedback loop of feeling hopeless when they're going to promote me, feeling disappointed that, oh, is this what I chased for? Work so hard to get this kind of job, to feel imprisoned, trapped in this cubicle. So I started emitting this vibration. And then so when I try to go at it again, try to get a job again after quitting that job and all that kind of stuff, there's skepticism and pessimism in my approach now. And the minute that there's a bit of pessimism and this arrogance that I've done interview coaching and, I was able to make things happen at the time I did it. So when you go back to try and get a job, there's a lot of arrogance, at least for me. And you cannot go into a job interview with arrogance and cockiness inside. and pretend to be humble. You actually have to kind of have some humility from inside out to make people say yes to you in that environment. And basically, like, it's just plateau, and then I'd literally get rejected the more I leveled up. And I didn't understand the time why. The more I felt like I was getting smarter, more confident, more skilled, a lot of skills, more experienced, the more I got rejected later on from jobs. And that's because every time I experienced a dip from my 3D reality, I was actually rejecting myself. And by rejecting or abandoning yourself, you allow yourself to descend into hopelessness when things don't go your way. And when you try to go at this path where, oh, you send the resume out, oh, but it's 3 months, they haven't gotten back to me. Oh, they say, sorry, your resume is not a match to what we're looking for. And you allow that situation to discourage you. That is self-abandonment. So it's not about what happens to you that matters. It's about how you interpret the situation. And if you allow things like, sorry, your resume just doesn't match what we're looking for. This moment, like, your experience doesn't really match what a company wants. Like, screw them, whatever. Like, you do you. You keep elevating yourself, and you keep taking the right inner actions that align with what you want, that job comes to you, not you having to go chase 10,000 steps for it. So therefore, what you want to do is you want to leave this reality alone. You don't want to mess with this reality where you're operating as the fragile and egoic version of you who doesn't know who she really is or who he really is. But you want to now come into this place where you elevate your consciousness, elevate yourself to be of match to that 120 grand Google job or whatever job you want. And you basically live in the end state before any interviews happen. Now, when you are in this state, what you will naturally do is you will make sure that your decisions, your thought, your attention, your habits, your emotion, your conviction, your expectation, your focus, your self-talk, your mental attitude, they are 100% congruent to the version of you who already has that job and the version of you who the job chases. You are the person that people go out of their way to want to get to know and potentially work with. So you must go at this from a mental state that you already have it. Because if you already have it, your energy is going to be quite detached and magnetic. But if you don't have it because of pessimism and arrogance from the past rejections that you may have experienced, they will sense it. And you can't get a yes from people in that kind of environment. The minute that you emit out any sort of arrogance and I think I'm a bit too good for this place, you suddenly feel it, but then like you try to say the right things, but they pick up on the energy, or you feel like, I don't think I'm good enough for this place. And they feel it, and then, you know, they just say, sorry, you just don't have the right experience for this job. And, you know, there's so many other candidates and we've just chosen the right person. It's not that. It's the inner energy. So therefore, this version of you, basically, once you elevate your consciousness to be at the end state, the 3D reality can give you a bunch of wonkiness. In 90 Days Journey, there can be things like some false hope that, you know, the 3D gave you a bit of wins, but then it swings you right back down, and then there's like no movement, and then there's this and that. But it might merge towards you getting the job. And why is that? Because you internally said yes to yourself. So basically, you want to do this incremental action where even when you're not, even on the week where you have no interview, what are you doing with your life? Are you nourishing your life? Are you doing the kind of workouts that you want to do? Are you reading the kind of books that you feel inspired reading? Are you researching the company in a way where it gives you more sense of certainty on knowing how to answer people properly? if you already went to a video interview or you're preparing for the next interview, are you kind of, going to your interviewer's LinkedIn and just having a look to see what their past experiences are? What kind of posts do they like? What are they into? So that when they ask you, like, do you have any questions for me? You can go directly into specifics of who they are because you went to their LinkedIn and did a bit of research. Are you looking at, what the company truly wants? Do you know what the team culture is about? What kind of people do they hire? What kind of personality do they like? Are you looking at their milestones, the company's milestone, all that kind of stuff? And just getting a rough idea of, they've been here for 5 years. What's their next goal in 6 months, 12 months, whatever. And these are your incremental actions that, what happens? This exponential point happens here. So after the interview, are you coming back to revise how your day went? Has it went the way that you wanted to? If not, can you, replay that situation, replay the scene and make it go your way? But you also come back and self-evaluate. Are you self-evaluating? How did I go today? And if they were to ask me some weird question again, like, have you watched the news? What do you think about the oil price going up? What do you think about, if the oil price went up like this and the economy is like this, what do you think, the company's going to be at the situation? Just have a rough guess. And because I don't watch the news, I wouldn't know the answer to that question. But let's just say you get thrown these very weird questions, which my clients have. Do you watch the news? What do you think of the situation? And she did, luckily. You can kind of self-evaluate to see if any weirdness comes up. How do I respond better to these weird questions? So when you do this, it's not about the action alone, right, that matters. It's not just about, I know everything inside out, I have every single answers memorized. It's not that. But it's actually about conviction. It's about compounding your confidence. Everything that you do on this journey where there's a bit of ghosting, there's a bit of no movement, there's a bit of, sorry, we'll get back to you later, or there's just no progress, and then it looks like you might get rejected, but then you don't get rejected, and then you get passed down to talk to the other hiring manager, and there's all these wonkiness in the 3D that doesn't go the exact way that you want at every turn. The whole point of you coming back to nourish your life with positive life forces, such as meditating, working out, the things I love to do, coupled with things like researching the things that the company wants, and then just putting yourself in the shoe of the people that work there, especially the people in your team, that if I was Joe, who's going to hire me, sorry, what would Joe want? What would Joe want from me? So I would literally tell my clients back then, like, if you had a business, and I asked my client Manisha at the time, like, what are you into? What do you like? And she says she likes, dog pets. So we thought about her opening a dog walking business. And I asked Manisha, like, put yourself in the shoe of a dog owner, dog business owner. And if you're looking to hire an admin, I want you to now think about what you want from this admin when you hire her. When you're about to give this, 50 grand, 65 grand, 70 grand budget to a person to help you out. And she said to me that I want my admin person to make me feel more, the workload is lightened. So that feeling of the workload being more lightened and having someone help take care of her dog walking business so she can focus on what she enjoys doing in the operation, and she can have a person helping out with, customer, responding to customers, scheduling appointments, all that stuff, is that she feels relieved. So when you are this person, you're coming back to ask yourself, okay, how do I make someone like Joe feel more relieved at work? So you think about, if Joe wanted to hire me in his department, I'm assuming that that's because one person can't take on every single hats. And so if I were to answer questions, how do I build Joe's confidence, like compound his confidence in me, that your day will absolutely be so much more lighter. You'll feel so much more relieved if you handed 50% of your tasks to me, and you will be the superstar of your company. I'll make you the superstar of your company by getting things done correctly, and therefore improving both our KPIs, and therefore you elevate others in that team. So you're coming at this approach with, what can I share to these people? Not what can I take from them? This version of you who's already in the end state, she's not thinking about how can this job save me, but she's thinking about how can I compound my confidence by doing all these things so that I could make other people's lives in that company 10x in value, 10x feeling better. So now I'm going to show you the concept that I really want to show you before we get into the whole, interview strategies and all that kind of stuff. So stay tuned. So one thing that I do before I do these really cold swims at the ocean water is that I have to make sure that my mind, my heart, and my body is ready for the cold shock, especially now it's winter. And it's gonna get a bit harder to swim 1,000 meters in winter. And the thing is, we have to rehearse our inner actions before we take any physical actions. For me, I have to prime myself an hour ahead, literally, that today I'm doing 1,000 meters. If I can't, that's fine, but I'll do my best to swim under this condition where the swells are harsh, the weather's cold, sometimes it's a bit raining a bit. And no matter what happens, if the wave, the swells throw me to the other side of the lane, or there's a seaweed tugging at my feet, or there's some, seasoned swimmers overtaking me again, I'm gonna be okay. I'm not gonna react in the same way as before, where I would panic literally and just, feel overwhelmed. But I'll do my best to prime my mental state to win under any circumstance that comes up along the way. So the question I have for you is, when you go to your job interview or you're about to send out your resume or whatever, have you primed your mind for success? And I'm not going to tell you like, just rewire your subconscious, get into alpha and theta brainwave state, and just say, I have the job, I have the job, I have the job. But let's make it like more detailed than that. So basically, sometimes I just don't understand why people, they just say like, just affirm that you have a job, you have a job, you have the job. But at the time when I take these advice, I just don't understand like how you can just loop your affirmations. But what other supporting actions can you take to create self-generated evidence that you're on the right path? So I'll show you the specifics. And in this example, I'm going to reference the book Parallel Universe of Self by Frederick Dodson, which I first read back when I was 18 in 2012, listened to his audibles when he was available on YouTube, and just, read it again as well. And basically he talks about the different dimensions, which at the time as a teenager, I had a very, very hard time conceptualizing this. I didn't want to believe it was real, but it is real. So basically, there's multiple planes of existence, and I'm pretty sure that you know that to make manifestation work, you have to unite your mental, spiritual, and physical plane, because the universe is mental. And so then there's a 3D plane right here. And there's the 4D and there's the 5D plane. And the reason why you have to understand this is because we don't want to do things inefficiently. Go to the job interview and then you get a bit of rejection or a bit of ghosting, and then you don't know what to do next. But this will literally become your when Sun Tzu says you win the battle before you even enter it. That's literally this. We're going to win mentally before we do anything. So therefore, on the 5D plane, there's multiple versions of you that currently exist simultaneously. And again, like back when I was in second year uni, went out with one of my good friends at the time to see Interstellar. And like there was this scene where like Matt McConaughey was he was in this kind of like floating around in this book, and the bookshelf showed different timelines where he was connecting to his daughter Murph, and there was this like younger version of Murph, and then there's the older version of Murph, and he was peeping through these books. That's pretty much the parallel timeline. And I just thought it was an interesting scene that I want to share with you here. So basically, there's multiple versions of you who's already lost the game of getting a job. She's lost from the start. So if you ever have someone saying to you, we've actually found somebody else that's a better fit and it's not the best fit for this role, and I'm pretty sure you will do well with other endeavors, so I wish you the best of luck, and in the meantime, you can just keep up with the company's website and reach out to us anytime if you have any questions. There's a version of you that's experienced this, so you lost from the start. You even lost before they gave you that email. There's a version of you who's ghosted from HR. There's a version of you who gets, rejected from the last interview. And there's a version of you who gets rejected from the first interview. There's a version of you where AI has literally rejected you based on the wordings you put on the resume. So you don't have specific companies and wordings on the resume, you're done. And I saw this like in the video where people literally just scan like, have you worked at this company? But have you worked there? And they look for matching words instead of the actual experience. They don't even look at the resume. They just look at the words that they want. Like, it's just ridiculous. So basically, there's a version of you who set out your resume and you have AI or literal HR people who don't want to take their time to look at your entire resume because they just like skim through it and just look for the keywords only. And there was this video where like the HR was only scanning for one corner of the sheet to see if the word matches. There's a version of you who has to go through that BS and have somebody else literally like dictate the outcome of your future because they scan a few words on the paper. That's just ridiculous. Anyway, and we're not going to go into that reality. We're going to go into the version of you who has the job. So even if the company goes into voluntary administration and BS, whatever happened to me back then, no matter what happens, you have the job and they will give you the job. You must connect to this version of you on an ongoing basis by bringing her down to the physical plane. And again, by bringing this version of you down to the physical plane, you're basically saying that her decisions, her attention, her thoughts, her emotion, her beliefs, her self-talk, her focus, her expectation, her mental attitude is absolutely congruent to this version of herself who has. Now, the thing is, what you do now is you either go into alpha brainwave state, it works for me, or you go into theta brainwave state where you're really pretty much dozing off to sleep and you're half asleep. And you impress your subconscious by vividly experiencing every cell of your body, the feeling that you would feel once Jane from Google says, congratulations, you got offered the job. You may feel some goosebumps. You may feel a heartbeat, like a rushing heartbeat. You may feel relaxed. You may feel a big sigh of relief. You may feel so appreciated. You may feel so grateful and so thankful to the universe. And you want to saturate your entire cell of your body, your mind, your heart with that state for as long as you can and as frequent as you can. And that is you connecting to that version of you who has. Now, the thing is, some people say you can only do this once and basically your subconscious is impressed. But for me, I like to do things in a way where it's repetitive. So yeah, you do it powerfully. And you know that it only takes once. But if you can do it for at most, okay, in this case, at most 90 times, 30 to 90 days of this journey, and you do it every night, damn. Think about your muscle memory where you're creating this muscle memory of rehearsing the version of you who has. So then the way you answer questions, the way you show up, the way your posture, the way you vibe with the interviewer, it comes from a place of you relaxed, secure, and already having that job. So when you go to the interview, they pick up on the feeling that there's just something about her. I can't explain what it is. It's just because I like the term that Nero uses. Frequency defies rationale. People don't make 100% rational choices. They always make choices based on their intuition. Then they use data to back up their intuition, which then solidifies their intuition even more. So basically, you want to then leave every other versions of you alone. Leave her alone. Just leave her alone. Now you want to focus on just this version, but you want to bring her out. This is night 1, so you do it again, night 2. Then you do it again, night 3, and you pull her down again, night 4, and again, night 5. So what you do is you allocate a specific time of your night, I believe, if you want to do this right before you sleep and you go into theta mode, and you allocate just 10 minutes, just to vividly experience that feeling of, yes, it's here, it's mine. But then throughout your waking world, you can also do this in the alpha brainwave state. Because when my subconscious was most impressed I can swim, it was impressed when I was in alpha, when I was swimming in the ocean water, and that was when it was impressed, not before I slept. So therefore, you want to keep bringing her down, say night 6, night 7, night 8, night 9. And basically what you're doing is that you're repeating to yourself that, yes, I confirm your decision. And then night 2, yes, I confirm your decision. Then 3, and you keep confirming and confirming and confirming your decision until everything that goes on mentally, it gets solidified in the physical plane. So basically this space here is what you call compounding your conviction or confidence. And you compound it by putting in the reps. That if it means that you just allocate 10 minutes before you sleep and a few minutes throughout the day to just saturate yourself in that state intentionally with visualization, some affirming, whatever works for your subconscious. Then you're teaching your body to remember the feeling that you're congratulated, you're celebrated, you're recognized. And once you do it enough times, trust me, no matter who you come across, you're going to be less intimidated by them because you'll see that they're just humans sitting on the other side of the desk who feel the exact same emotions as you. And pretty much people are you pushed out, and the energy you emit out to people, it will get reflected right back at you. Because we are all just one consciousness. And no matter how fancy that person's title is, whether they're partner of Deloitte or whatever the title is, they feel the same thing as you. They have nervousness. They might feel nervous to even talk to you. They have their own sets of stress and they want their stress to be relieved. So you want to come in as the person who, she's got this, you got this. Which leads me to the next point, the actual practical steps now. Let's go. So now what I'm going to show you is this. When it comes to winning against your reality, it's kind of like playing a game. And back when I used to play games, I always felt like, it's frustrating when I can't unlock the beginner levels. My favorite game as a child was Luigi's Mansion. That was my favorite. And on the first episode of Luigi's Mansion, the first level, you kind of have to unlock all the beginner ghosts, like the random ghost, and you have to vacuum them and stuff. But later on, you get to unlock the keys to the higher levels of the mansion. You get to meet more important ghosts, wealthy ghosts, and just that kind of stuff. And then you meet the Boo, the big ghost on level 4 or something, at the ice rink on the balcony, and then you fight with the boss, the monster boss, and I really enjoy that time. But you can't really get to the final level without unlocking all the previous levels. In Luigi's Mansion, those levels require you to vacuum the ghost a certain way and pretty much collect, some pearls and stuff like that to get to where you need to be. But in real life, these levels include things like the first video interview, or whether it's AI interview, whatever it is today. And before that even, it's your resume on LinkedIn. So I had LinkedIn many years ago, and at the time I found the importance of making your LinkedIn attractive to a certain extent. For me, because I was doing impact year interview coaching, I posted a lot of videos of me talking and also video testimonials interviewing my clients, and that made my LinkedIn more recognized because there's activities going on and there's results and people engage with it. But in your case, like just having a presentable LinkedIn will help a lot. So let's just say you have your CV, LinkedIn, resume, portfolio, website, and you also have the video interview, and then you might go to assessment center, then you go to panel interview, and then you go to partner interview, and then the decision is made. In this video, we're going to go through every process except for the resume part. So I'm just going to focus on the interview aspect of this. And the thing that I teach my clients back then who, Anisha got her job within the next day at EY, but she's awesome already. She's awesome. She had a great energy. So she came to me, we did a bit of role play, and then she got the job the next day. Had other people who got job at PwC like within a month or over a month a bit. Had one that got a job at EY again and KPMG, like a double offer. That was cool, Jeremy. And with my other client who Deloitte made her wait 6 months, but then when she got the partner interview again 6 months later, within 15 minutes, she was offered the job. This is what I told my clients to do. When it comes to responding, you want to answer the question. But then you want to share your story that is unique to you. Then you want to share the result as a result of doing that, whatever you did. But this has to be relevant to the company. So you have to link it back to the company. That's the part most people miss in star interview. It's just that they say a bunch of things like, I won this contest and I solved this problem and I initiated this leadership in my team and I achieved sales revenue increase. But how is that relevant to the company? So then after you share all of this, as a result, because I know that at Google, you're looking for people with innovative thinking and the ability to solve problems on the spot, I believe that my experience of leading this team and having these problems solved within 14 days could be beneficial to Google's team, as I know that you guys value that. Just put in the company's name at the end and just link it back a bit. Anyway, let's get to the AI video interview because it's interesting because to me, okay, let's just say that AI doesn't interview you because I don't know, man, seriously. Let's just say we have a human 15 minutes, like a, when you go on a date and then they kind of scout for you, to just, what do they call it? It's kind of like a selection process. And it's only 15 minutes or it's a phone interview. It's a selection just to see what your vibe is about. What do you think the person across your phone who wants to give you just 15 minutes to just get a feeling of how you sound, what do you think they're looking for? What do you think will make this phone interview a powerful one that they have to move you up the rung? I'll tell you what it is. It's not what you think. It's the vibe. What vibe are you giving off? Because I remember I was so desperate to get a job at this one point of my life, and I applied to Peloton, Bondi Junction. I was hoping that maybe just part-time retail is fine too. But I knew nothing about Peloton. I didn't even research it. I didn't care. I was trying to build my YouTube and stuff like that. But I just wanted to make my own money on the side kind of thing. And the minute that I had no idea what Peloton really does, and I got shoot a question like, what do you know about a company? I just froze because I didn't care about it. So the thing is, you have to care about the company enough as well. So the vibe shows that you care. Yes, you care enough to research what you're getting yourself into, because I think what they're going to ask you is, why did you apply for our position? Why this position and why our company? And if you say something that is plastered on the website, they will feel it, and your vibe sounds like desperation, or your vibe sounds unprepared. And if you're unprepared, you're screwed. So therefore, you want to sound quite prepared by caring about what this position wants from you. There's you, and then there's the position. Okay? Now, it's interesting because if you don't know what this position wants from you, you're chasing for it. But the key is to make the position come to you. So what does this position want from you? What do they want you to know? That, okay, it's like, sales. But what do they specialize in? Like, what kind of targets, are they looking to reach? So you got to know these things. What does the company value the most? What are their best products? What kind of CRM tool is the best thing to use? All these kind of things, like the specifics. So in this case, I don't know what it is because I'm just, free flowing this right now. But you've got to know what this position, what characteristics do they want from you? So the rough structure that this is what it is. In Peloton's case, I needed to know about their product a bit, their bikes, and what is it for and what's their latest, thing on the market. But I didn't know any of that because I didn't care. So just knowing the year as well that they started and their vision, just having the company vision and the overall culture, and just understanding that this is what the culture looks like and I want to be a part of this kind of culture. So going in to look at their socials, their Facebook page, their community page, just to get an overall vibe and see what this vibe is about, so that now you can start adapting yourself to match that vibe. Every single time they shoot you a question, you want to answer in a way where I got this and I know what I'm talking about. Let's just say they ask you as well, can you introduce yourself? Just when I, introduce myself and you do it with conviction, it's kind of like, hi, I'm Patty and had an experience as a design computing student at Sydney Uni, looking to explore my career path in corporate sales because I've always been interested in communicating with other people, communicating with humans, and I want to understand the art of persuasion and knowing how to have people say yes to you, kind of thing. So anyway, that's just kind of the rough idea where when you introduce yourself, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you have to say it in a genuine way where you really want this. So the vibe of introducing yourself, even on the phone, it doesn't have to be the correct answer, but the way you say it has to be casual, but also prepared. So let's move on first. So now that your vibe is correct, because the inner energy that you come at this is also correct. So even though just then I winged it and I didn't really know what I was going to say, but if you're confident with the way you say it, even if you miss some lines and you skip a few awkward pauses, they're still going to pick up that, something about your vibe is correct. And that's because you got the inner action correct. Now, basically, when you move to the assessment center, this is interesting because when it comes to assessment center, do you know what the objective of people that are judging you is? So my friends were the people that were judging at the assessment center. And I think that what would make my friends, who are beautiful souls, beautiful hearts, what would touch them the most is having people being able to bring out that version of them. So, do they want a superstar in the assessment center? Do they want a superstar that outshines everyone and is just the most standing out? Think about it carefully. They want somebody who would be cohesive with the team. And I emphasize cohesive, meaning that there's 5 people in a group and all 5 of you are going towards one vision. That's what they're looking for in assessment centers. They're not looking for you to be smart, too cocky, too confident, too arrogant. They're looking for cohesion. What's your ability to read the room, have some emotional intelligence, and just understand how to make your team look good? Just think about it. Once you get employed, it's about working in a team. So that's why I have to ask you, you have to really want the job, because after you get the job, It's not just about what you want, it's about what the company is looking for and you being able to adapt yourself to match it. But then adapting yourself to match it also is in alignment with what you want. I'm not saying that you have to blend in and completely tone yourself down, but in the environment, in the case of winning the assessment center, you have to be able to be fluid like water. If the team requires you to, mold yourself in a vase, you're going to mold yourself in a vase. If the team requires you to flow, you will have to flow. Because what's most important when they're looking at assessment center is your character. It's your ability to bring out the best in other people in your team so that your team gets the best score. So there might be a timer, there might be a presenter, there might be a leader, and I don't know what the other two roles are. But let's just say, like organizer. In the assessment center, if your position is a timer, I'm telling you, don't try to outshine the presenter. Don't. They don't judge you based on your presenting abilities as much as how you make your team look. Not about how it makes you look, how your team looks. Do you support your presenter well so that they present to the best of their abilities? Do you time things well? Are you, as the leader, do you mentally support others, or do you try to outshine them? And in Robert Greene's 48 Law of Power book, what did he say in the first law? Don't outshine the master. Don't. So therefore, when it comes to assessment center, you're not trying to prove your worth by being way outshining others. You're not even proving your worth. You're coming here to say that I am a team player. I fit in with this culture. When people work with me, they feel relieved. When people get involved with me, they feel like they can trust me. The presenter can trust me as a timer, that once the time is up, I'm ready to give them the signal. The presenter, is trusted by the leader that, when I delegate the task to them to present, it's going to go well. So you know what this is all about? Synergy. In assessment centers, people are testing your ability to have synergy with other people. So it's not about trying to win against other people, not trying to outshine, but also not dimming yourself. It's about your ability to adapt so well that your team praises you for being such without pay, I couldn't have done this. That's the whole point. That's what they mark you on. But this can't really be done if you have an attached energy. Because when you're detached, you're going to read the room. So you're going to let down your ego for a bit, and you're going to read the room to see what is the vibe like, and you're going to match that energy properly, that when people turn to you, they feel like, yes, she's my go-to person. He's my go-to person. Okay? So that's assessment center. So now when it comes to video interview, you've collapsed that timeline. So you've unlocked level 1, which we've already done. And then when it comes to assessment center, you've shown the team that you're a team player. You've shown people that you have the capability to read the room, have emotional intelligence, wait for your turn before you speak. Don't speak too much, don't speak too less. But when you do speak, you say all the right things and your energy is relaxed, detached, and you let people figure it out. And again, when people start arguing as well, when people debate and want to present, it's all about ego. You're gonna step back and let them do the arguing. You're not gonna get in the way and just do your own role, make your own role as effective as you can by just being the person, the go-to person for others. So now they've seen that you have this emotional intelligence about you and your energy is pretty detached and they like you. You now completed level 1, level 2. Now we're going to go to the panel interview, which is really interesting. So I never went to a panel interview, but I did do a corporate sales pitch where I had to do a 3-minute speech in front of 3 people. So let's just say that these 3 people, they are Joe, there's Jane, and there's Jim. Joe is an analytical thinker. He's all about data, man. Just give me the data. Jane is an intuitive person, so she's relational. So she uses more like her emotions and the way she bonds with other people to make decisions, like me. It's all about bonding in the moment. And Jim is a decisive person. He's driven. He's like, I want it now. Make it happen now, okay? No matter what it takes, now. You're going in, perhaps as a relational person. So you're more of a creative, intuitive thinker. And you're going in knowing that only one person in this panel interview is going to match your vibe fully. So what do you do? What are you going to do? And now there's like, I want data. I want this now. And this one is like, let's have a conversation. That's where you bring your parallel reality in and go back to the inner state. Before you even go into the interview, you make sure that, I'm assuming you will do this every night. So every night you already rehearse the feeling of already having that job. So naturally you would walk into this room relaxed. So again, what happens that tends to screw me up in the past when I get intimidated by people is that when they have a stoic face, or they don't really give a reaction to any of the things you say, they're just like, while maybe Jane would be like, oh, really? Oh, okay, that's interesting. Oh, tell me more about this. Yeah, welcome. Like, that's Jane. But you know what's interesting? The person who does that kind of, oh, really? Oh, that's fantastic, is harder to convince than the analytical and the decisive, in my experience. The people with a stoic resting face, like, they have I just feel like they don't have a high guard like people like me who actually have a very high guard. And what I show to you is not what I truly feel. So you've got to be careful. That's why you've got to relax. And this requires you to feel secure within yourself. That when they start asking you the question, all you have to do is follow this formula now. What is your weakness? My weakness is attention to detail. Back in the days, I used to have a problem with, getting the little figures wrong when I'm entering data into the system. However, I was able to overcome this by, sparing some time to practice inputting like the things I do, which were the first step, I review my draft, then I go into the second step and review again and do it again for the third time. And when I was able to slow down and take on this process, it actually fastened my workflow overall. And because I got used to this, I was able to minimize my mistake over time, and it was really effective. This then actually led me to being able to increase my sales revenue by 10% because the customers were so happy with how fast I was getting back to them based on me implementing this when I'm entering data and then later on executing the sales. As a result, I think this will be beneficial because of my ability to adapt. I'm sure that Google would want someone like this who can quickly adapt to the situation, kind of thing. So basically, at this point, you need to know how to say things in a way where it's not fully perfect, but it kind of follows your structure. So I'm saying that I have a low attention to detail. And it's not just about entering data into the system, but it's about me doing sales. You need to have some tangible results to show for, whether that is improved sales for 10%. And this is beneficial to the company because if you're able to adapt really fast, then, it's a win-win. So therefore now, either Jane, Joe, and Jim will feel like, this guard is not let down. So they ask you on the question, okay, tell me about a time where you solved a problem. When did you solve a problem effectively? And you may say things like, well, one time, there was a conflict in our team because everyone was having different decisions and inputs into the project. So as a result, what I tried to do was listen to both sides and make both of them feel heard. I tried to implement, 20% of Kevin's idea, another 30% of Jane's idea, and we try to mix match and see how we can make it work. As a result, the team became more in harmony and we had better synergy. which overall made our project finish faster than expected by 14 days. The client's really happy about this, and we actually got promoted that year as well. So therefore, this will be very beneficial to Google, because I'm sure that with this approach, it could speed up the timeline in many things and, avoid a lot of conflicts that would go on by just understanding how to get along with your team well, kind of thing. So again, this is not perfect, didn't prepare for it. So you get the whole gist. It's a conversation. It doesn't have to be perfect. But what it has to be is that you did prepare for it. I didn't prepare for it just then, sorry. But you prepared to a degree, but once you execute it, it's natural, it's a conversation. So once you say that right, and it's like, yeah, she speaks like a human, she's real, I can relate to her, that's not a tick, but guard down. And then you keep it going. So you back some evidence by actual numbers, but then the story part is relational, because you're sharing a journey you went on, but then you link it back to how this is relevant to the position that you're going at it in. Okay, so it's interesting because the Joe Analytical could be an introvert. Jane could be an extrovert. And Jim could be an ambivert. And it doesn't matter who any of these people are. All you have to focus on is, yes, be yourself. Be yourself, but be the version of you who can adapt to all these people by just being composed, relaxed, and talk in a conversational way. And if you don't really know the answers, just don't worry, just simple term is fine. Because the energy behind it is what matters, not the actual word itself. So now I'm assuming that Joe, Jane, and Jim, overall, they feel like you have a good energy. So the way you answer is not perfect. I didn't answer perfectly just then. I was just winging a bunch of things. But it's just the energy feels right. I want her in my team. You give them this conviction based on the way you gave yourself conviction that you can make their days better. If they were to hire you in their team, they will feel more relief. If they were to work with you, they will have an enjoyable day. You have a sense of humor. You are down to earth. You're easy to get along with. And that's the quality that you want to show through your answers, not just trying to get it correct. Which then leads us to the next one, which is the partner interview. So now you've broken down level 3 reality. You've won. Now we're going to go to the partner interview. So now we're going to be sitting with another Joe. And this time, this guy is analytical. Damn it. And you're creative. So damn it. 2 different personalities. Joe's way of deciding is through data, numbers. And you're not that kind of person. You're the kind of intuitive, how does this feel? Joe's not like that. And he's an introvert. Whew. But you're an ambivert. So yeah, you're introverted too, but you prefer to bond. And Joe has a stoic face. So now it's one-on-one. And I think it's easier than panel, because now you're able to bond with just one person. So Joe has 15 years experience in tech, something like that. He knows a lot. He doesn't want you to beat around the bush. Don't sugarcoat it. Tell me the exact figures. So you're trying to use this. What result have you produced in the last 6 months at your previous company? Don't beat around the bush, just say it. 20% sales increase. I was able to 10% this, 20% that. ROI this, ROI that. The exact numbers. With Joe, this guy, this one gets a bit hard because he doesn't care if you're a great baker and you participate in team activities. He doesn't care about anything else. Before you say, just tell me the numbers. This is where it gets interesting, because now you have to adapt mentally that what Joe wants to hear from you is results. So you must give him what he wants. Stats, data, evidence. Because you've primed your subconscious to say, I have the job, and now you start to meet this guy who's a bit hard to deal with. Not hard to deal with, but he's it's harder to convince him because he's stats driven. So there's going to be a possibility that your performance overall doesn't hit his metric. It's not good enough, the numbers aren't good enough, and it has nothing to do with your interview abilities. This is where detachment really comes in, because now you have to accept the possibility that you might not get the job, not because you get any of this wrong, but because your past performance doesn't match his key metric. But you can actually override that by literally having conviction in yourself. And I know this doesn't make sense, but it does. I get it that you might say, this is just the numbers, this is how it is. Take it or leave it. When you have inner conviction, you don't convince Joe, and you don't prove yourself to him that you're worthy. I'm worth it. You don't. You say it as it is, and you step back and let him decide. This is my past performance. This is the best I can do for the last 6 months. It might not completely match his expectation in terms of the data, the key metrics. And now he's using his logical mind to calculate, is this a worthy investment? But then, underneath the worthy investment logic, Joe's looking at your vibe. Are you confident about yourself that once he says no, it does nothing to your self-esteem? That you've passed all these rounds, but you might just like not pass the partner one. But how are you composed about it? Are you okay about it? This is it, because if you cannot stay composed and relax in your energy, you're lacking data, you're lacking experience, can totally screw your chances. But the key is to be confident with everything you've achieved so far, to the point where if you don't like it, fine, I'll find a company that matches the metrics I've produced already. So when you're going with this energy to sit down, you're being an equal with him, not him above you and you below him. You're being equal. And once you give off this energy where, no, you're humble, there's humility inside of you, but at your core, your inner state, you are an equal and you have matched to the things that you want. Meaning that if there's a possibility that your sales numbers, your experience and everything else just doesn't match his expectation, you're good. I'm good with or without this job. I'm relaxed, I've done my best, and there's nothing else I need to change about this. Once you go about this way, this is what happens. You start to really surrender. You start to surrender, and you kind of give off this energy to Joe that it doesn't matter if you say no. I don't desperately want this. But all you do is go in to give it your best, to be in the moment, to stay in flow with him, but to mirror him almost. If he talks less, you tone it down a bit. Not in a way where it shrinks your self-esteem, but you say a bit less than you usually would to match his vibe. Because now the key is that you want to make Joe feel like there's synergy between you two. And once he feels that, even if the logic says, yeah, but the metrics, the figures are not matching, there's going to be a part of him or anyone that you talk to that's like, but the energy is quite she seems like I can train her. Okay, I understand the numbers are lacking, but I can literally train her for the next 1 month and her sales figures would go up. So you want to present yourself in a way where you don't have to give me the job. But the thing is, I'm trainable. But you don't say this verbally. You say to this through your energy, the way you've already primed your subconscious the last 30 to 90 days. And you've already entered the mental attitude of the person who has it. So the words that come out of your mouth is not going to be proving your worth to Joe. It's going to be take it or leave it. Once you're in that place, there's a very high chance that it would do this ironic thing, paradox where the less you want it, the more they want to give it to you. And once you give out this energy that I don't want it that much and I'm willing to walk away, then the job finds itself to you, either through Joe or some other factor that says we need her. So there's a higher force in here than just the people you're talking to. It's not just the humans that you come across. There's a bunch of other factors that can move to serve you as long as you're in the mental state of already having it. So even if you just like me just then, who said a bunch of weird, like wrong things just then, because I was winging it and didn't prepare for that answer, they're still going to choose you because you're mentally there already. So therefore, that's the partner interview. Now, the final thing that I want to close this video off with is allow. Because now that you've passed this reality as well, you're going to allow the decision to be made. And by allowing, you allow the wait to happen. You allow the no movement to happen. And you allow yourself to feel chosen with or without it. There's going to be a possibility that after you go through all of this perfectly in the right mental state, for that particular time period, it's a no. There's a low chance that it might be. That's why I'm saying that, like, when you're detached, you actually accept both possibilities evenly. So you accept that no matter what you did, even mentally, like, there's a chance that the physical reality may not give you what you want in June, but they might give it to you in December. So it still worked. Everything still worked. Your inner convictions or everything still worked. But there might be a mixture of your baggage from the past or some residual frequencies that hasn't gotten fully pushed out. And so therefore it reflects in your 3D reality as a delay. But I'm telling you that now that there's no movement, there's maybe like a possibility of rejection. Now you have to wait with patience and conviction in yourself that either way, you already became a brand new person from this journey. This journey gave you the best kind of possible growth. This journey made you learn about humans in general. This journey made you learn about how to adapt to people and, you know, meet different kinds of people with different personalities. And you've got to thank this journey that it has given you what you needed. So thank the journey that at least I got to go to this room to talk to Jane. I got to go to this room to talk to Joe. I got to meet these new friends at Assessment Center. Just thank the experience, because this whole like allowing will ironically bring you the exact thing that your higher self wants, or even better. So this period, no matter what happens, you must stay internally stable and know that you are the pedestal of your reality and not that Google job, not that 100 grand job. So do not ever let yourself feel desperate, feel down about it. You are worthy of what you want. I'm telling you, you are worthy of it. And your day is landing now. Okay, so this is it. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. There'll be a waitlist down below if you want coaching on this. So my mission is to help high achieving women reach their tipping points in 8 to 12 weeks by shattering their inner worth ceiling, to be able to manifest the kind of job that they truly want, going through all this process correctly, and therefore having their breakthrough. So if it sounds like you, don't hesitate to get in touch, and see you soon. Bye-bye.